Welcome to HH28, where we unravel the secrets of self-discovery and matchmaking. We are Hugh and Heather,
two master holistic guides dedicated to helping you navigate the worlds of numerology, astrology, and personality in pursuit of meaningful connections.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into another corner of the zodiac?
Always excited to unpack these fascinating signs. Where are we headed today?
We're tackling the ox. Got our trusty sources right here, ready to spill the tea on this hard-working sign.
The ox, known for their strong shoulders, both literally and figuratively, right?
Absolutely. Hard-working, honest, down-to-earth. Those are the words that immediately come to mind. But I'm itching to get past those surface-level descriptions. What's a real-life example of that legendary ox work ethic?
Okay, picture this. It's crunch time on a project, deadlines looming, everyone's a bit panicked, except, that is, for your ox coworker. They're calm, cool, collected.
Because they've been steadily working on it all along, no last-minute scramble for them?
Exactly. They're all about that slow and steady approach, always prepared.
Now that's a work style I can get behind. But for those who might be new to the whole zodiac thing, how do we know if someone's an ox?
It's all about their birth year. We're talking 1925, 1937, 1949.
Let me guess, big years for agriculture. Just kidding.
Right. Though maybe they do have a green thumb. Who knows? But seriously, those years, plus 1961, 73, 85, 97, 2009, and most recently, 2021. If you were born in one of those years, congratulations, you're an ox.
All right, so someone born in, say, 2009, what might their personality look like based on what we're seeing in these sources?
You're looking at someone who's probably the most reliable person you know. Always the first to volunteer for a tough project, never shies away from responsibility.
The one you can always count on to follow through.
Absolutely. They make a promise, they keep it, rain or shine, no excuses.
That dependability must come in handy, especially since our oxen thrive on routine and planning. Is that part of what makes them such dedicated workers?
Oh, absolutely. They're not afraid of hard work, but they like to approach it strategically. Think of it like they're not just going to climb a mountain without first, getting the right gear.
Checking the weather forecast, packing snacks.
Exactly. They're all about that methodical approach. They need a plan.
So we've got this picture of the ox as this incredibly dependable, hardworking person. But what about their personal lives? Are they all work and no play?
That's where things get interesting. While oxen are incredibly loyal partners, incredible friends, they might need a little encouragement when it comes to, opening up emotionally.
They're not exactly wearing their hearts on their sleeves.
Not exactly. Think of it more like they're a slow-burning fire. It takes time for them to warm up, but once they do...
That warmth is the real deal.
Absolutely. They're not going to shower you with grand gestures every day, but they'll be there day in and day out offering quiet support.
It's that classic actions speak louder than words approach, isn't it?
You got it. They're not big on expressing their feelings out loud, but you can always feel their love and loyalty in everything they do.
Which is amazing, but I'm guessing even the most positive traits have their potential downsides. Time to address the elephant, or should I say ox in the room.
Right, because those strengths, they can sometimes, become a bit too much of a good thing.
So what are we talking about here? What are some potential pitfalls of those classic ox tendencies?
Well, that strong will, which can be amazing for achieving goals, it can also turn into, let's just say, stubbornness.
A bit inflexible.
You could say that. Imagine trying to convince an ox to, try a new restaurant when they've been going to the same place for years.
They're creatures of habit.
Oh, absolutely. They like what they like, and they can be very resistant to change, even if it's for their own good.
And let's not forget their honesty, which, admirable trait and all, but...
Sometimes it'd be nice if they'd sugarcoat things a little, right?
Just a tad. They probably think they're just being straightforward, but it can come across as a bit harsh.
Exactly. Especially for those who are a bit more, shall we say, sensitive. They really value truth and integrity, which is great, but a little tact never hurt anyone.
Exactly. So we've got this picture of the ox. Hardworking, loyal, honest, maybe a tad stubborn and blunt at times. But now I'm dying to know how all of this plays out in their relationships with other signs. We're starting with, you guessed it, love.
Oh, get ready for the cosmic matchmaking, because some signs, they just click with the ox, while others, let's just say it's a recipe for an astrological disaster.
All right, I am so ready for this. Who are the lucky signs that get to tango with the ox?
When it comes to love, the rat, snake, and rooster are considered the most compatible signs for our friend the ox.
Okay, let's break this down. Why the rat? What makes them such a good match for the ox?
Think about it. Rats, they're known for their quick wit, their adaptability, their ability to thrive even in chaos.
They bring the excitement, the spontaneity.
Exactly. And the ox provides that grounding, stable presence. Classic case of opposites attract.
So the rat might encourage the ox to loosen up a bit, to embrace life's surprises, right?
Absolutely. And the ox, in return, offers the rat that sense of security and stability they might secretly crave.
So it's a win-win, little give and take. Variety is the spice of life, as they say.
Right. Now let's move on to the snake. They're a fascinating match for the ox. Both signs, they value loyalty, they crave that deep connection, even if they express it in totally different ways.
And let's be real, the snake's mysterious vibe probably doesn't hurt either, right?
You know it, but it's deeper than that. The snake has this natural wisdom and ability to navigate all those complex emotions.
Which can be really alluring to the more practical, sometimes emotionally reserved ox.
Exactly. The snake just gets them, It's like they can read each other's minds.
Okay, so we've got the rat, the snake. Who else is on the ox's cosmic dance card?
Last but not least, we have the rooster. This is a pairing that's built on mutual respect, shared values.
And probably a shared love of a good to-do list.
Oh, absolutely. Like the ox, roosters are all about hard work. They're practical, detail-oriented.
They're both striving for that early bird gets the worm kind of success.
Exactly. Now, we've talked about those love matches, but are you ready for the other side of the coin?
Oh, I live for a little astro drama. Who are the signs that might make the ox's horns curl a bit?
Buckle up, because our sources tell us that the sheep, the horse, and the dog are considered the least compatible signs for the ox, at least when it comes to matters of the heart.
Let's start with the sheep. Why might this pairing be headed for a cosmic collision?
Well, remember how we talked about the ox's love of routine, their need for predictability?
That's kind of their comfort zone, right?
Exactly. Well, the sheep, they're all about throwing that routine out the window. They're free spirits, spontaneous.
They go where the wind takes them.
Precisely. Which you can imagine can be a bit much for the grounded ox to handle.
I can see how that clash of personalities could create some friction. So we've got the free-spirited sheep and the grounded ox. Not exactly a match made in astrological heaven. Who else might make the ox's love life a bit bumpy?
Next up, we have the horse. Now, horses, they need their freedom, they're independent, always on the move.
They're off to the races.
Which you can imagine can be a lot for the stability-loving ox to handle.
Like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right. The ox might be ready to settle down, build a cozy life together, while the horse is still, galloping towards the horizon.
So, again, not necessarily a lack of love, it's just a fundamental difference in how they approach commitment and togetherness.
Exactly. And finally, rounding out our list of least compatible love matches for the ox, we have the dog.
And I think we all know where this is going. The dog's honesty, while admirable, can sometimes be a lot.
It's especially in romantic relationships where those emotions are already running high.
Right. And the ox, despite that tough exterior, they can be a bit sensitive,
Absolutely. And the dog, bless their heart, they might not even realize they're being hurtful with their, let's just say, constructive criticism.
It's all about those different communication styles. Now, before we move on, I want to be clear. Just because two signs aren't astrologically compatible on paper doesn't mean their relationship is doomed.
Right. Astrology is just one lens through which we can view relationships. There's so much more to it than just sun signs.
Well said. Now, we've covered love, but what about friendship? Do those same compatibility patterns hold true when it comes to platonic relationships?
That's a great question. And the answer is, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some of those love matches, like the rat and the rooster, they also make fantastic friends for the ox. But there are some interesting curveballs when we shift our focus to platonic connections.
Ooh, I love a good plot twist. Our sources mention that in addition to the rat and rooster, the dragon is another great match for the ox in friendship. Now, we haven't talked about the dragon yet. What is it about this mythical creature that clicks so well with the grounded and steady ox?
Well, dragons are known for their dynamism. They're charismatic. They can light up a room.
They bring the energy.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly refreshing for the more routine-oriented ox.
So the dragon might encourage the ox to step outside their comfort zone, to try new things, right?
You got it. They're the ones dragging the ox to that karaoke bar or signing them up for that salsa class.
They're the friend who helps the ox embrace life's adventures. But I'm curious, If the dragon's the ultimate adventure buddy, who are the friends that might make the ox want to retreat to their quiet pasture?
Well, remember how we talked about the horse's love for freedom potentially clashing with the ox's need for structure in romantic relationships? Well, those same differences can also lead to some speed bumps in friendships.
That makes sense. The horse is off galloping toward the horizon, while the ox prefers to take things slow and steady.
Exactly. They might want to do completely different things, like the horse might be all about those last-minute road trips.
While the ox would rather, stay in and have a nice quiet dinner.
Precisely. And then you've got the monkey and the dog also making the list of least compatible friends for the ox.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why the monkey? I have a feeling their playful, sometimes mischievous nature might not always mesh well with the ox's more serious demeanor.
You're right on the money. Monkeys, they're fun, they're playful.
But maybe a little too all over the place for the ox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ox might need a break from all that energy. And then, of course, there's the dog. We've talked about how they're well-intentioned, but sometimes blunt honesty can be a bit much for the ox.
Yeah, that's probably true for any close relationship, romantic or platonic.
Exactly. Sometimes you just need a friend who's going to offer a little more reassurance, a little less tough love.
So while these pairings might require a bit more effort and understanding to thrive, it's important to remember that astrology is just one piece of the puzzle. Just because two signs aren't astrologically compatible doesn't mean they can't have a successful and fulfilling relationship.
Absolutely. There are countless other factors at play. Shared interests, life experiences, you name it.
Well said. Now, we've explored the ox's compatibility in love and friendship, but our deep dive isn't over yet. Next up, we'll be exploring how the ox navigates the world of work and business.
We're diving into the ox's professional life.
We've established they're all about hard work, but how does that actually play out in their careers? What kind of jobs are they drawn to?
Well, our sources paint a pretty clear picture. Think fields that require precision, patience.
Attention to detail.
Oh, you better believe it. We're talking engineering, finance, anything where you need someone who's going to dot every I and cross every T.
And probably do it ahead of schedule.
Most likely. And here's the thing. They actually find satisfaction in those meticulous tasks that would make other signs run for the hills.
It's not just about the work itself. It's about that feeling of accomplishment.
Exactly. A job well done. But of course, those strengths, they can also be a double-edged sword, especially in teen settings.
Because sometimes you need to be able to go with the flow, be a little flexible.
Right. And that's not exactly the ox's strong suit. They like things a certain way, which, in a collaborative environment,
can lead to some friction. Any tips for those who might find themselves managing an ox? Or even just working alongside one?
Communication is key. Don't just spring a new idea on them or change a deadline without warning.
They need a little time to adjust, wrap their heads around it.
Exactly. Explain the why, the how, involve them in the process.
So they don't feel like they're being blindsided. Now let's talk workplace compatibility. Any surprises on our list of ideal coworkers?
You know me, always ready to play a little cosmic matchmaker. And some of these pairings, let's just say they're destined to be best cubicle buddies.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Who gets to be the ox's work wife or work husband?
Once again, the rat takes the cake.
Those two, they just click. What is it about that dynamic that works so well, professionally speaking?
Well, they just complement each other so well. The rat, they're full of ideas, always thinking outside the box.
And the ox can take those ideas, make them a reality.
Precisely. They ground the rat's energy, turn those sparks of inspiration into concrete plans.
A true power duo. Now, what about the snake? I have a feeling they might be a good fit for the ox in the workplace as well.
You're on a roll. Snakes, they bring that natural intuition, the diplomacy.
They're the ones who can navigate those tricky office politics.
Exactly. They're the quiet strategists working behind the scenes to make sure everything runs smoothly. A valuable ally for any ox.
And of course, we can't forget the rooster, strutting their stuff straight into the boardroom.
You said it. And they're not just there for show. Roosters, they bring that same work ethic, that attention to detail.
Those color-coded spreadsheets.
Oh, absolutely. They thrive in a structured environment. They understand the ox's need for order, for efficiency.
It's a recipe for a productive and, let's be real, probably very organized workplace. But now let's talk about those work relationships that might require a little more, well, effort.
Yes. Time to face the music. And unsurprisingly, our friend the horse, They're back on the list of potentially challenging dynamics.
Which, after our compatibility deep dive in the love and friendship departments,
Not
not really a shock.
at all. Those same personality differences, that love of freedom, that need for speed.
It can create some friction, especially in the workplace.
Absolutely. The horse might be raring to go, suggesting some radical new approach.
And the ox is like, whoa, slow down there, buddy. We have a system for a reason.
Exactly. They can butt heads if they're not careful. And then we have the monkey who, well, let's just say they're not exactly known for their laser focus.
Those playful monkeys, always so full of energy.
Which is great for, after work drinks or something. But in a professional setting.
It can be a bit much for the more serious, task-oriented ox.
Exactly. They might find themselves constantly having to wrangle the monkey's attention, redirect their energy.
Which can be exhausting for anyone.
Oh, tell me about it. And last but not least, we have the dog.
Back for another round of potentially awkward workplace encounters.
You know it. And it all comes back to that well-intentioned but sometimes brutal honesty.
Which, in a professional setting where those boundaries are already so important.
It can be a recipe for disaster, especially if the ox is feeling a bit insecure or unsure of themselves.
Right. Because even if the dog's feedback is valid,
it's all about the delivery.
Exactly. Tone is everything. We've explored the ox's personality, their love life, their friendships, even their office dynamics. But something tells me we've only scratched the surface of this hardworking sign.
You're right. We haven't even touched on one crucial dimension of the ox family. And trust me, this is where they truly shine. Family is everything to them.
Our sources definitely emphasize that. It's like family is their rock, their safe haven.
Absolutely. It's the place where they can truly be themselves, let their guard down, and they're not just passive participants in family life either.
They're the ones organizing the reunions, keeping those traditions alive.
You got it. And they're incredibly dedicated parents as well.
Oh, I bet. Instilling those classic values of hard work, dedication, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. They lead by example, show their kids what it means to be responsible, committed.
They sound like the kind of parents who would do anything for their children.
Oh, without a doubt. Now, are you ready for another round of cosmic family matchmaking?
Bring it on. Who are the signs that create that picture-perfect family portrait with the ox?
Well, unsurprisingly, the rat, snake, and rooster are back. Seems like they just can't get enough of the ox.
All right, let's start with the rat. We've talked about how their quick wit and adaptability complement the ox's grounded nature, but how does that dynamic work in a family setting?
It's all about balance. The rat parent brings the fun, the spontaneity, keeps things interesting.
While the ox provides the structure, the stability.
Exactly. It's a recipe for a happy, well-rounded upbringing. And then you've got the snake, who brings their emotional depth and intuition to the table.
Which, for the sometimes emotionally reserved ox,
can be a game changer. The snake just gets them, understands their unspoken feelings.
It's like they have this secret language.
Right. And we can't forget the rooster. Always a good time with them around.
Especially in a family setting, right?
Right.
They're both so organized, value those same traditions.
Absolutely. Shared values, shared routines. It just works.
Yeah.
But of course, it wouldn't be a compatibility deep dive without a little bit of drama, right?
Oh, you know me too well.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the in-laws that might make the ox want to cancel family dinner?
Well, you're probably not going to be shocked to hear that the sheep, horse, and dog are back to stir things up a bit.
Those three, always keeping us on our toes.
Yeah.
Let's start with the sheep. I have a feeling their free-spirited nature and, let's be real, aversion to routine. It might clash with the ox's more structured parenting style.
You're reading my mind. Imagine the sheep grandparent swooping in, showering the kids with sugary treats.
While the ox is trying to enforce some semblance of a bedtime.
Exactly. And it's not that either approach is wrong, it's just different. And those differences can create some tension if they're not careful.
Communication is key, yet again. Now, what about the horse? They love their freedom, always on the move. How does that play out in a family dynamic with the more grounded, family-oriented ox?
Let's just say it can be a bit of a balancing act. The horse relative who pops in for a whirlwind visit, then disappears again for months.
Not exactly the most reliable babysitter.
Right. And the ox, who values those consistent connections, might feel a bit neglected.
It's about finding that balance between honoring your own need for freedom and being present for your family.
Exactly. And lastly, we have the dog, back for another round of potentially tense family gatherings.
I'm sensing a theme here. What is it about the dog that can sometimes create friction in close relationships?
Well, their intentions are good. They're loyal, they're protective.
But that honesty can be a bit much sometimes.
Especially when it's directed at family members, right? Unsolicited advice, a little too much criticism.
Even if they mean well, it can sting.
Absolutely. It all comes back to communication styles, being mindful of how our words impact others.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the year of the ox. We've covered a lot of ground, from their core personality traits to their compatibility with other signs in love, friendship, work, and family.
They're a sign of contradictions, aren't they? Hardworking, yet sensitive, blunt, yet deeply loving.
They're a reminder that even the strongest oxen need a little love and support, and that even the most different signs can find common ground if they're willing to meet each other halfway.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey. Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing all those, fascinating contradictions that make us who we are.